Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. How are you? Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, now we will come to today's news. CNN media. Of course, Democrats alike are very panicked about the prospects of the 14,000 hours of security cameras tape that was recorded on January 6 to be released to the public. Why would you be so against transparency? Maybe because it would actually reveal some things that the media and Democrat politicians and some rhinos tried to make the public believe about January 6 that was inherently untrue. And we have Matt Gaetz here along with Kevin McCarthy, credit to him, working on to releasing the tape of January 6, and Matt Gaetz puts on a clinic here on CNN, pushing back rightfully so onto the paid propagandists. They're on CNN, as they say, home security, this is going to damage democracy. And Matt Gaetz is like, no, it's not. No, it's not. What's wrong with transparency? Why can't we hold our government to transparency without the whole media and, of course, career politicians freaking out about national security? It's not about that. It's because they don't want the American people to see what actually goes on in these buildings, the national security threat. It's actually in those buildings to the rest of the nation, because they get to do things behind closed doors that the rest of the public does not get to see or even have a say so, because they will bring these bills to the floor without debating, without anything, and they shove it and they vote on it. And bam, there's some more taxes for you. Or there's some more restrictions, or there's some lower erosions of your rights. Coming to us via Twitter, by Columbia Bugle, fantastic Twitter account. By the way, if you're on Twitter, you need to be following these guys. I'll leave a link in the description down there for you guys. Follow Matt Gaetz' response to the claim that releasing 14,000 hours of January 6 footage would jeopardize security. And some significant news: poor little Mayor Lori Lightfoot. You know, we don't hear about Lori for a really long time, and then every now and then some sort of leaked document from her leaked Yelp account gets released, or an internal email of her basically blowing a fuse and acting like a complete psycho gets released to the media. It seems like every single time we're talking about Mayor Lori Lightfoot, it's a PR disaster, a PR nightmare, a massive scandal that she ends up being embroiled in or at the center of. Well, it's no different this time. More leaked emails, not directly from Mayor Lori Lightfoot, but directly from her team. Another election corruption scandal. This is just what they do. They use every single trick in the book, all the cheapest tactics you can imagine. They bend the rules, twist the rules, use all the gray zone stuff, and even totally unethical desperate measures, anything to get elected, anything to win without actually having to win on the merit of the issues or the policies or the performance. And that's exactly what this is like. I always say the Democrat modus operandi. Now we have proof, more actual email evidence, internal email evidence of a campaign to influence federal employees to bribe their students to do work on the behalf of Democrats. You heard me right. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. As Mayor Lori Lightfoot tries to justify these actions, it's actually more like she's trying to separate herself from the whole thing, but with her name on it, it's kind of hard to separate yourself. At this point, alright, folks. Take a look at this from the center square. Lightfoot is criticized for soliciting CPS students to launch campaigns for extra credit investigations. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is drawing criticism over leaked emails of her campaign asking public school students for help on her re-election bid in exchange for extra credit. Lightfoot, who is running for a second term, faces several challenges. Next month's primary challengers are highlighting an email to Chicago public school teachers that the Lightfoot campaign reportedly sent offering extra credit for young people eager to help Lightfoot win this spring. The email was first obtained by WTTW and sent to Chicago public school teachers. Here's the email. Hello, my name is Redacted, and I work on the Mayor Lightfoot re-election campaign. As the race heats up, we're looking to enrich our office through what we call our externship program. Can you please share this opportunity with your students? I've included more information below. Lightfoot for Chicago is seeking resumes from any volunteer interested in campaign politics and eager to gain experience in the field. The ideal volunteer will be efficient, well organized, and enthusiastic about joining a dynamic team. A strong commitment to democratic ideals is essential, and folks can apply through this form. Extroverts are expected to devote 12 hours a week to the campaign. Students are eligible to earn class credit through our volunteer program, and that right there is where it gets really sketchy. To be honest, This whole thing is damn sketchy because there's a clear conflict of interest here. It's almost like electoral insider trading. I'll use the rest of the article to actually transition to the next point. As the mayor of Chicago, Lightfoot has control over appointing members to the Chicago Public School Board, which has led her challengers to question her ethics. Paul Vallas, former CEO of Chicago Public Schools, released a statement saying the people of Chicago deserve answers related to Lightfoot emails. I believe an independent joint investigation by the city and CPS inspectors, or CPS inspectors in general, is the best way to get to the bottom of the scandal. Chicago voters deserve to hear answers to these questions and more directly from Mayor Lightfoot, who herself provides public services in a public trust, and we need to demand accountability and transparency from Mayor Lightfoot. Now to ensure that the integrity of our city government is not further compromised. Well, of course, Lori Lightfoot is dedicated to democratic values, like transparency and uninterrupted, not corruptly influenced, democratic processes, so surely Mayor Lori Lightfoot might have some explanation. Surely she's going to answer questions effectively. And honestly, everyone listen to this. Mayor Lightfoot, I've got to get you on one controversial thing. Before we let you go, your campaign. Your re-election campaign is under investigation after you were accused of trying to recruit Chicago public school students to help you get re-elected. What's your response to this story that came out of NBC News? Well, I've said it many times, and I'll repeat it here. Look at our zeal to make sure that young people had an opportunity to participate in their flocking to our campaign. One of our staffers reached out through publicly available information to CPS teachers and our city colleges. And that was just a simple mistake. I'm the mayor of the city. I'm not somebody aspiring to be the mayor, and the wall between the campaign and the official side has to be impenetrable, which it will be, and that was a mistake. Okay, folks, not exactly. She's totally avoiding any type of culpability or involvement and refusing to really answer any questions. She just says it was a simple mistake. I'm sure that, judging by her team, it definitely had nothing to do with her. But this is a clear conflict of interest. This is Democrat corruption at its core, using the teachers' unions and the power that they have over teachers' unions. Of course, it goes both ways and vice versa. But in this case, she used her influence to appoint board members and, of course, allocate funds and resources to use public school teachers and public school unions to bribe students with extra credit. If they help or get re-elected for 12 hours a week, canvassing doors helped get me elected and will give you extra credit at school. That is totally unethical because only Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has the ability to do that. Her opponents don't wield that weapon. Her opponents have to actually fundraise and pay people to get them on the ground or convince people to volunteer for them. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, acting like the tyrant that she is, says, I control school boards. Therefore, I'm going to bribe students with extra credit. I won't even have to pay them. I won't have to fundraise. I won't have to waste money. I don't have to use taxpayer dollars. I could just bribe them with extra credit and use the teachers, who basically answer to me, as a vessel to do so. And I'll create my own little student army that'll go out and work for me and get me re-elected. Simply a mistake. She says, let me guess, she's going to throw the individual who sent that email under the bus and fire that person as being the architect and orchestrator of all of it. It's typical corrupt politics. She's the kingpin. So she has her mules, her little peasants doing all the dirty work. And then once the whole thing gets uncovered, she doesn't have to take the fall. She has a fall guy or fall girl. She can walk away from the scandal scot-free. This is the one thing that voters hate about what politicians view as just this little ethical gray zone that voters view as corruption. This is why Hillary Clinton was such a bad candidate. Because of all these pay-for-play schemes, the rules for the but not for me, this is the exact type of thing that pisses off voters the most: abuse of power. And that's exactly what this is. This is cut and dry corruption. This is the Democrat Party public school teacher union connection. This shouldn't just be a little blip in the news cycle. A small little thing, if you ask me, something like this, is almost campaign ending for me, especially considering the fact that it's a bribe. It's just as bad as taking taxpayer dollars, tax dollars collected from the people of Chicago, and then injecting them into your own campaign. It's the exact same thing that would be a massive scandal. I mean, That would be a scandal of epic proportions. But you mean to tell me that using the teachers' unions instead of dollars, public schools and public teachers who are paid by taxpayer dollars, using them to bribe students to go out and get you elected? It's the same thing. It's taxpayer resources going to her campaign using government to get re-elected. It's not a small scandal or a small blip in the news cycle. This is massive. It shows you exactly who Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is. We see the same thing every time, and we get a little glimpse into who she is outside of the public persona. Somebody who mistreats her employee, somebody who's aggressive, somebody who's angry, and Patty wants to settle scores. And now beyond that, somebody who's power hungry, somebody who's willing to go to extreme lengths to ensure that she remains in her position of power. That's a red flag again for a campaign ending, at least for me, if you're willing to stoop so low and go through such incredible lengths to get re-elected without getting elected on a basic messaging campaign. You're not the right person for the job. Very simply, it's one of the biggest red flags that we had with Kevin McCarthy, for instance, and the same standard applies, except, to be honest, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is in a much worse situation. I mean, I don't necessarily focus too much on Chicago electoral politics, but I actually don't even know what her platform is exactly. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what her vision is. She kind of just says things. But there's no real concrete plan. There are definitely no performances or results. And so you could clearly tell the focus. Her focus isn't on inspiring the next generation and moving Chicago forward by implementing her plans and her vision and doing something extraordinary to bring the city forward. Her number one focus is remaining in power, keeping that seat, keeping that office, and so she's more focused on this kind of thing, on navigating and playing world politics through these schemes and through these cheap tricks instead of actually being a leader. Like I've been saying, the campaign disqualifies Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, once again showing us and proving to us that she may be the worst mayor in American politics and one of the worst Democrats under that banner. And that is an incredible feat. And maybe honestly her most impressive feat. Alright, thanks for being here, folks. Please receive a big hug from all of us. Let me know down below if you like these updates.